I think around like 9 years old is when I started to kind of get into it. When I just started to sort of have curiosity about what it was all about. Um, Kilimanjaro was number one, and that's kind of like how I, in a way, kind of started to climb. It was kind of like my test mountain to see if I enjoyed it or not. I was still kind of split 50-50 because I was like, I mean, I was 10 years old. It was definitely difficult for me at my age. And I think it just took a lot of emotional maturity in order to, get better at it and understand like what mountain climbing is all about. But I mean, it brings you into like such beautiful places and areas of the world that are just so incredible to visit. And that was like a big reason why I wanted to pursue these climbs. Um, Going back to your second question, if you wish to go back to any memory while climbing, which one would you choose? And I would say that honestly, like one memory I just miss a lot. I think was just kind of like the preparation and the anticipation for Everest. I remember how nervous I was on how everything was going to go. But I don't know. I think that it was just like a time that I really journaled, and I remember there was some level of like pretty core memory from it because like I remember writing this stuff down in a journal. I eventually didn't. I was a very bad journal writer and keeper, so my memories are pretty um, are more focused on like the big picture stuff and like the key events, but a lot of like the little day to day things I don't remember as much these days. So yeah, I think that, but I think just like my first, just the experience of being like, wow, we're doing this and we're really going to do this. There was a lot of nervousness for sure, but I just remember being like pretty damn excited to go to Nepal and go to um, and just go see what the Himalayas were like in person and just see how incredible they were.
Okay, so Hussam has wanted to ask a question. You can go ahead. Oh, oh, okay. What do you think made you want to embark on your journey? Or, in other words, what do you think is the root of your climbing passion?
Um, you want to embark on your journey. So the root of the climbing passion for me, I think, was the that's a great question. The root of climbing for me really comes down to it comes down to like two things. I think like one, I I'm an explorer at heart. So I think my ability to just visit all seven continents and really really get to know each and every like culture that I interact with and all the different people from around the world was just like incredible. I think it really did. I think it what happened for me at a young age was like I think the end result was definitely something I hoped for, and I think it was ultimately just to have like a better understanding of the places that I go to and visit. And I think just understanding like everything I see in the headlines and the news of whichever places around the world that I'm going to go visit or hear of, I just know that there's just a clear separation of like the people versus those in charge. So I think that's just like a big thing that I like really understood as a kid because like everyone's like very warm and friendly and welcoming. Like 99% of people around the world are like that. So I think that was just like a big core reason like why I wanted to do it so that it would allow me the opportunity to engage with people. And then secondly, I think just I think the core of it was completing something that I never thought was possible. Obviously, I had to believe in myself to do it, but I think I didn't think it was possible. Like right before I turned like one, or sorry, before I turned like 10 years old, and fast forward to 15, I was like, wow, we actually did it, and I was just kind of blown away about our ability to actually do it and make it happen. And we did all, 7 summits. So I was just, to I was very proud of myself for sure to do that. But I was very proud of my parents to just like really see the vision with me as well and want to complete it. So yeah, that was just kind of my those were my core reasons to do it. Meeting people and engaging in cultures and doing something I never thought was possible.
Okay, so Hassan has a question. You can open your mic.
As a person who has been to many journeys, Mr. Jordan, what do you think are some of the necessities that you need in every climb, especially the more technical ones?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the necessities are the necessities. Like you have to have this gear. There's a reason why this is on the gear list. I think like ultimately yeah, the gear is something you really have to invest in, and it's definitely definitely not cheap as well. So it took a lot of you know uh, creative resourcing to get some of those. We were able to secure like sponsorship deals with a lot of brands. So for the most part, like what we got was free gear out of it. So which was nice. But there were a lot of companies who didn't have it in their budget to float us like actual money for it. So I mean, but at the end of the day, like the gear was a massive help because that saved us a lot of money as well. So yeah, I mean, but there weren't really any climbs of the 7 summits that were like truly technical. One of them was Puncak Jaya in Indonesia. That one was probably the most technical, but the rest of them um, were pretty like high, like mellow grade for the most part. With the exception of like Everest and Denali, like there were definitely some really steep ones, but most of them, like the 7 summits as a whole, are not very technical climbs. There's truly technical climbs in the Himalayas as well that are like truly difficult, and yeah, I never got around to doing those, but yeah, it was uh, the 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 gear that you need. And it's getting better as time goes on for sure. I've been out of the climbing scene for a little over a decade now, but I'm truly impressed to see like some of the new gear that comes out. I'm always like, whoa, that's really cool. Would have been nice to have that, 15 years ago.
Okay. Qasim has other two questions. One, when you start to climb, what was your family's reaction, and what was the scariest thing that happened while climbing?
For sure. The When I started to climb, my family's reaction was very kind of slow and supportive. For the most part, they were very. It was kind of out of the blue for them, so I think it just took them a while to process it, and then ultimately they were very supportive to kind of be like, "Hey, we're willing to support this." Well, there were two kind of camps. Like one was my dad's side and my stepmom who were very much up for it. But my mom who didn't climb any of the climbs with me, she was just very uh, you know, as a mother should be like concerned for her son's safety through it, but she understood it. Like she wasn't very like, no, you shouldn't go. Like she had a lot of trust in my dad and my stepmother to take care of me and look out for me. So um, yeah, it was overall they were very supportive, and ultimately they focused on having me be a very central part in like the fundraising and shaking hands with the brands that we were doing sponsors with, and really being involved in just the whole journey. They were like, "Hey, this is something that we're kind of doing for you as part of your um, want to do this. So like you have to step up and be a teammate." So yeah, so that was part of the deal. The scariest thing that happened while climbing, I would probably say, was definitely the avalanche that occurred on Mount Everest. It was extremely scary, and um, I was very shook when that had happened. So that's kind of all I could say to it. It's a long story for sure. As it's a but it's part of my book. That was kind of in the first prequel chapter, whatever you call it. But yeah, everything was going pretty smooth on the climb except for that one day, and it was definitely the closest I'd gotten to possible death or serious injury.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. So, what are you working on now, and what's your next big adventure? I've been thinking about so many ideas. Like maybe you can go, visit Saudi Arabia and see, you know, the amazing things here, or you can even go to Egypt and visit, the Great Pyramids of Giza, or
Hmm.
even in Alexandria. It's a really great city in Egypt. In
Hmm.
fact, it had one of the ancient wonders of the world, and that was the lighthouse. But
Yeah,
it fell apart, and there's some pieces, in the Mediterranean Sea near the city. You can go, and make scuba diving there. So, like, what you're working on, and what's your, next big adventure?
yeah, for sure. As of right now, man, I've gotten very I've pulled it back a little bit. However, as of now, I was a founding employee at a company that provides like industrial safety helmets, but that are like new and most improved. So the company is called Studson, and where it's doing really well. So I think it's very business related at the moment. However, the urge to explore and travel is definitely still in me. Working at this company has kind of kept me home for the most part, traveling a lot around the United States. But I think, as far as like my next biggest adventure, like one that I always have is to climb and ski like all of the Cascades of the Pacific Northwest here, between like Oregon, Washington, and California. But for the most part, they're climbs you can kind of do within 1 to 2 days. But I think from here on out, I'm an expert level skier too. So I think preferably I'd like to ski down most of the climbs that I do, just because it saves a lot of time and is typically a little bit more enjoyable than walking downhill for hours and hours. So yeah, that's kind of where my heart's at right now. I live with my girlfriend and a dog, and life is very wholesome right now. So,
Yeah,
but
but
either way, though, I mean,
okay,
I love traveling, and
really?
I think like
Yeah,
ultimately,
I can
love to
clearly tell. I
on the
mean,
horizon.
you've traveled, as at a really young age.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a lot. So yeah, either way though, I mean, life is still amazing. I love it. Yeah, I think in hindsight too, like it was amazing getting to do it at such a young age. I don't want to call it like being burnt out, but it was a very it was it's an experience. I think I'm 15 years later, like still processing as I share the story sometimes. But yeah, I think overall, like I still have some ideas of things that I want to do, and later in life, I feel like I'm just keeping those cards a little close to my chest for the most part.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. So, Hosam is saying you talked about how different parts of the world were from your previous knowledge back at home. What was the biggest difference you've noticed?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to that's a great question. I think that overall, like um, how different parts of the world. What was the biggest difference you noticed? I think ultimately, like I think in Eastern countries, I think was a big one too. I think like in the states, I think we just have like such a shielded view of some of the like Islamic culture, for example, some of the people, I think, in just the rest of the world overall. And I think it was just I think just I never had like my presumptive feelings towards any of that, but I was just like extra amazed just to see how like just kind, welcoming, and peaceful the people are, and it's just, and that's generally speaking. I mean, obviously, I think everywhere has its own problems and nuances for sure, as we do. But I think that was just like my biggest thing was just, I don't know. I think just kind of like seeing and exploring like different like religions around the world, and I think that the biggest difference I notice is ultimately like people are mostly the our wants and needs are really mostly the same. We just want like a stable life to live it to the fullest, to spend time with those we love, and to you know work a job that gives us dignity, and I think those are just kind of like the basic things that I just took away from most of it. I can't think of like a specific instance, but I was very I left those journeys being like, wow, that's just an experience that no one else my age is going to have the ability to see. So I just felt extremely lucky and fortunate to be able to do it.
Okay, are you willing to travel in the future, like maybe visit Egypt or Saudi Arabia or maybe other
Yeah,
countries?
absolutely. Yeah, always would love to.
And
Yeah,
are you
those
planning to do something other than hiking, like maybe swimming or, you know?
are. It's hard to say. I think like I mean I wouldn't like for example like swimming for example is just something, it wasn't always my strong suit. I can swim but not for long periods of time, so it's just I think with mountaineering and skiing I just have like a momentum of experience and ability to just kind of know what I'm getting into and just like understand the risks a little bit more. So I think that I mean, I always love to learn something new. However, I think that if I were going to do something like mountaineering and skiing would kind of be it. But at the end of the day, too, like I'm always down to travel just to travel and explore and see somewhere new. I'm definitely not above that. But if I'm going to pursue any like physical endurance mission, it would probably be a little bit more mountain related, or just something that has a little bit more like familiarity with it. I think just due to like sheer risk. And if I'm pursuing something entirely different, like swimming or anything like water related, it's like a whole different knowledge base to accumulate, which just takes a little bit of time. I'm up to do it for sure. It's just like I think I just don't enjoy it as much as like being in the mountains.
Okay. Um, so, um, so there's a really good question. If you had one message to the world, what would it be in terms of being creative and living life without a device or screen in hand? And what advice would
um,
you give to someone of any age wanting to start climbing?
yeah, for sure. And I'll go ahead and answer this question. I just want to give you a heads up. I have to start heading to work here in
Yeah,
a little bit, so
that's the final
I can.
question. That will be enough for
Okay.
today.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you all. By the way, your questions have been great.
You're
Um,
always welcome. You're always welcome.
thank you. Your so if you had one message to the world in terms of being creative, yeah. So it's a that's a good question. Device and screen in hand. Um, I struggle with this for sure. I personally have been trying to make efforts to absolutely reduce screen time and try to just stay off social media as much as possible, because ultimately it's just time and creativity that it kind of takes away from. And I think that ultimately, like, you have to kind of going back to like what I was saying earlier, like the best way you're going to see the world is to just like see it for yourself, like with your own two eyes and not at a screen there. So I think like, with everything happening in the world right now, it's just, you can only see it through the lens of whatever you're reading from on your phone. Like, to be there in person is a totally different thing. So I think that I think it's overall just like trying to challenge yourself and commit to saying like, hey, I'm going to commit to these hours of the day. I'm just not going to be on my phone. I'm going to be bored and do and create something cool out of boredom. I think that's just like the biggest thing that a lot of people that don't get to experience nowadays is just like truly being bored. And I think a lot of great things in the world, whether it's inventions, games, or sports or whatever it is, like a lot of that came out of like boredom, really, and playing and all this stuff. Like, so I think that yeah, I think just choosing to limit the screen time is important, but it's not easy. It's truly not easy. You know, it's a whole thing I can get into for sure, but it's not. It's definitely designed to keep you engaged and on there for sure. So I think you just have to kind of be like mindful and smart and just be like, you know what, like, no, I'm not gonna let this device take out most of my time. But on the flip side, it gives us the chance to connect with a lot of people around the world very instantly. So there's always a good and a bad to everything. And then what advice would I give to someone my age, of any age, to start climbing? Great question. Always, I get asked that quite a bit. I think the biggest thing is that just understand it's number one, it's not going to be easy. It never will be. But it's extremely rewarding for sure. And you'll get to experience some really incredible places out of it. So, but it's going to be challenging and difficult and dangerous too. So I think the biggest thing is understanding all of the risks that it involves, and just kind of understanding like what you're getting into, you know. I think risk assessment is extremely important, and just knowing like, hey, like most of these climbs are going to be difficult to do completely solo. So if you're going to be with a team, it's just going to be really important to be very dialed in and being very just knowing what to do when things go wrong, because it's not a matter of if, but mostly when they do happen. And you know, if you spend your entire life in mountains and doing backcountry and climbing and all this stuff, like you will at one point in your life experience something going wrong, and it always tends to go wrong. It's just Murphy's law. So you know, I think just knowing what to do in those cases is massively important. So I think, and being wise and very selective about who you go with, I think is another big one as well. The people you go with can make or break your experience for sure. So it's kind of my very basic advice to anyone who is hoping to get into climbing. I see all of your messages and all of your gratitude. So thank you very much. Appreciate all of the questions you've been asking, and most of the time it's a lot of US based students I engage with. So it's awesome being able to.
Yeah, I know it's very. I think it's your first time, you know, meeting international students.
Yeah. In the past I did a little bit, but it's just been a long time. So glad to meet you all.
Yeah, from a really, you know, like there's a huge time difference. I mean, right now for us it's 5:44 p.m. and I think for you it's 7:44 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's like around 10-hour difference. Yeah. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. And the students are really happy, and you know, we appreciate what you've done. You know, these advices are really incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, guys, you can open the mics now and say bye to Jordan, to Mr. Jordan.
Bye.
Take care.
Goodbye, Mr. Jordan. It was an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jordan, you were great.
Thank you. Thank you.